Archaeological finds show that the island has been inhabited without interruption since the Neolithic age, although not much about the earliest people is known. In later periods, Greek and Latin sources refer to Ancient Greek, or Krk, Latin, as one of the Ipsartidian or Electridian islands held by the Liburnians, an Illyrian tribe. The Liburnians called the island Krkum, which is assumed to be an ill-raised name given the island by its original inhabitants. There are the remains of prehistoric settlements near Dragobaskanska and Bronze Age and Iron Age earthworks near Malinska, Dobrinj, Vrbnik and Baska. Krk Bridge Roman era. Krk came under Roman rule once they defeated the Liburnians. The town of Krk, Krkum, became a town with Italic law whose status evolved to give it the rights of a municipality. Nothing is known about the internal organizations of the town of Krk during this time. Near the present-day Franciscan monastery, the remains of thermal baths have been found. The defensive walls of Roman Krkum were among the most secure of all the towns on the eastern Adriatic fortified by the Romans. Work began on their construction during the civil war in Rome, 50 BCE, and they were further strengthened in the 60s of the 2nd centuries, to enable them to withstand attacks by the Quadi and the Marcomanni, who were at that time threatening the Adriatic. Not far from Krk in 49 BCE there was a decisive sea battle between Caesar and Pompey, which was described impressively by the Roman writer Lucan, 39-65, in his work Pharsalia. When the empire was divided, Krk came under the Eastern Roman Empire. Migrations of the nations. The walls of the town of Krk could not withstand attacks by the Avars, 7th century, but in contrast to Salona, Skardona and Iona, life in Krk quickly returned to normal. The Croats penetrated into the town on several occasions. They retain many of the Roman names they found there, and so it is said that Krk has a Mosaic dialect. Following the Treaty of Aachen, 812, the entire island was ceded to the Byzantine Empire and was governed according to the norms of that empire. During the reign of Emperor Constantine Porphyrogenitus, 10th century, Krk was known as Vekla, of which the Romanized variant, also used by the Venetians, was Veglia. Time of the Croatian counts and kings. There are no extant documents showing when Krk became part of the Croatian state. It is known that from around 875 the Byzantine town paid the Croatian rulers 110 gold pieces a year to be able peacefully to keep their hold there. While the Croatian state was being established, Krk found itself on the Venetians' route to the Mediterranean. The Venetians conquered the town for the first time in 1001, and from then Krk's history was closely linked with the history of the Republic of Venice for 7 centuries. During the reign of Peter Krasimir IV the Croatian rulers regained their power, but the Venetians took Krk for the second time in 1118. Reign of the Krk counts. From 1430, the Frankopan family town of Krk, when the Venetians conquered Krk for the second time in 1118, the local noble family, the unknown Dujams, received Krk as part of a pact with Venice, and they became counts. When Dujam died in 1163, Venice allowed his sons to make their position hereditary, after a payment of 350 Byzantine gold pieces as tax. In a short time the Krk counts became so strong that at one time from 1244 to 1260, Venice rescinded their authority. This failed to impede their rise, however. They increased economic exploitation, but they also endeavored to strengthen old traditions and rights with various statutes, the Vinodol Code 1288 and the Vrbnik Statute, 1388. Dujam's youngest son, who died in 1209, succeeded in extending his authority to the mainland, began to serve the Croatian-Hungarian king and received the district of Madras. Due to his economic strength and social standing, his opponents fought each other for his favor. The counts became so strong that no power could threaten them, until the Turks. Members of his family were leaders in Split, Drogar and Senj, and from 1392 one of them, Ivan V. became a Croatian-Dalmatian ban. In 1430 they took the surname Frangipane, claiming to have Roman origins. That year they adopted a coat of arms showing two lions breaking a piece of bread, Latin, frangere pane, break bread. From 1449, the descendants of Nicola IV founded 8 branches of his family, and together with the Zrinski counts were the ruling feudal family in the whole of Croatia right up to 1671. The Frankopans produced 7 Croatian bands, and many of them were patrons of Croatian artists. Under the Venetians, 1480 to 1797, Krk was the last Adriatic island to become part of the Venetian Empire. Due to its location, closest to the Uskoks of Senj, it served as a lookout point and the first line of defense against the Uskoks. From that time the ruler was a Venetian noble, but the small and the large councils both had a certain autonomy. The Doge controlled the clergy, but public documents were written in Glagolitic, which was adopted here more than anywhere else. At the beginning of the 16th century the inhabitants of inland Croatia began to settle on Krk in their flight from the Turks, but Krk suffered a decline like all other Venetian property. In 1527 the town had 10,461 inhabitants, and in 1527, clarification needed, it had 8,000. Under the Austrians Verbneich, Austrian rule began with the fall of Venice in 1797 and was briefly, 1806 to 1813, interrupted by Napoleon's Illyrian provinces. In 1822 the Austrians separated the island from Dalmatia and linked it to Istria, so that Krk, Kars and Lozenj came under direct rule from Vienna. This link contributed to the Croatian national revival, and together with Kastov, the town of Krk played a leading role in the spread of Croatian education and culture. 20th century the Italian occupation, 1918 to 1920, was brief, and Krk was handed over to Croatia, then in Yugoslavia, by the Treaty of Rapallo. Italy took Krk again in the Second World War, 1941 to 1943, and German occupation followed from 1943 to 1945. The post-war development of Krk was led by tourism. The building of an airport and then a bridge over to the mainland ensures the future of the development of tourism on this island. In Amizilj there has also been industrial development.